At a broadcast going. The stream will show up on the channel shortly. I'm sure. There we are. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adventure on So Many Levels. We're going to play some Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah!
Yay.
I am Christiana Ellis, and I am the Dungeon Master. Our players tonight, Chooch Schubert as Sequential Warforged Artificer.
Hello, hello.
Paul Fisher as Zinhorn Windborn, Dragonborn Cleric.
You all right?
Sorry, I hesitated a little bit just because your audio is just a little bit quiet.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. Starla Hutchton as Carolina Swift, Human
Hello,
Guard.
friends.
Mark Guilfoyle as Nedry Shiny Rock, Gnome Wizard.
I have so many questions.
And Vivid Muse as Trina of Harley, Loxodon Barbarian.
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 Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all.
So, welcome to episode 3 of our new campaign.
They grow up so fast.
Yeah, I know, right? So, last time, mostly what you did was kind of follow your new friend Sorashana back to where she lives, which is apparently a sometimes flying castle that is currently parked in a cargo yard at the Skyport. And you met her friends, Yober Relenth, who is a noble who has abdicated his position in the noble family, but still has money, apparently. We got... and
Sorry.
we've got... No worries. And we've got some... and his bodyguard, Brennan, who is an orc. And then, of course, the spirit of the castle itself, Sunia di un Torbelu. Who is very excited to have guests. And so you learned a little bit about what they're all about, and so pleased that Sorashana, who frequently has trouble with other people, has made new friends. He offered all of you a job, essentially, to be a team which can go into and investigate pocket dimensions to see what's in there and rescue people if necessary. And it was in the middle of the night, so there was not an insistence that anyone say yes or no immediately, but everyone was free to stay the rainy night in the castle, and that's where we left off. But you're all level 2 now.
Woohoo.
Did I miss
Double
anything
digits.
in my
The
recap?
first so many level.
Yes. Did I miss anything in my recap that you all felt was important?
I will check his notes. I have a page and have a question.
I'm sure Nedry will have questions.
Yes. Oh, Lord, Nedry will have questions.
Yeah.
I've braced myself.
So, here's a question. I'm assuming that Zinhorn, Carolina, Trina, and Nedry all did go up to that same sort of, the quarters that were on the cannonade level, and slept in there.
Yes.
And then Sequential was staying in the workshop with Sorashana. So, how did you all sleep?
Well, Sequential doesn't sleep. So Sequential does have to power down for about 6 hours a day, which means they don't move, but they're still conscious. And they have a habit of have a little, basically a little, looks like a little firefly, but like it's a rock that looks like an etched out little firefly wings, and it actually glows with light, and he just kind of sets it on the head and holds kind of a book page up and just absorbs it. That's like a good rest.
Nice. I was kind of envisioning that, you know how sometimes, honestly, the movie that does it the most that I could think of is the paranormal movies, but whenever there's security footage where it's doing time lapse to show that a long period of time is passing, so when there is activity, it's all really fast. And so I'm kind of imagining that at some point after working with Sorashana, helping her to analyze all these new gizmos, Sequential decides it's time to go into his, dormant mode. And there's just this element of like, he's perfectly still, but in the background we see Sorashana continuing to work kind of in fast forward for a while. Then she kind of starts getting a little slower until she kind of slumps down and face plants on the desk, at which point, a moment or so later, Brennan comes up and kind of carries her over to a little cot that she has. And then it's kind of quiet for the remainder of the night, I would guess. So for the rest of you, I think there probably wouldn't be much in the way of disturbances, except that if any of you were lying awake or feeling particularly easy to roust, you might have noticed at one point a broom kind of come in and sort of just gently, sweep various, parts of the room, controlled by, an invisible presence, ghost broom, essentially.
So funny enough, that's actually what put Carolina to sleep last night, because she was just so excited and just being in a new place and this amazing opportunity, and it was just so hard to close her eyes. And then just the sound of this broom going shh, 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 shh over the floor, it just kind of reminded her of home a little bit, and she just kind of drifted off.
Very nice.
Well, Trina thinks that she's being very polite because Trina's been camping outside of the city while she's been exploring. She's been exploring the woods at night. It's just so beautiful. So this is her first night in a bed in a long time. And so having the two beds pushed together, she just sleeps and she snores. She snores. So that probably didn't help at all with the sleep. But she is sorry about it and she apologizes because she's been told before that she snores and she's very sorry. But she slept like she hasn't slept in ages. She wakes up and she finds herself sleeping at a perfect diagonal in the bed. She's got so much soft, fluffy room. It's just heaven. She wakes up in a great mood.
I have to imagine, or maybe I don't have to, but I enjoy it. I like to imagine the impact of the trunk on snoring.
Yeah.
Like, is
mean,
the snore more like kind of sort of an elephant trumpety sound? Does the trunk move around during the snoring?
It depends.
Carolina was definitely composing tunes with the trumpet accompaniment. So.
Well, okay. Well, if I may, I'd like to ask Carolina what Trina's snoring is like, because it's not like Trina's ever experienced it directly. How would I'm going to pass that off. Carolina, how would you describe Trina's snore?
It was a bit. Hold on, let me check something real fast before I
Google
answer
do
this
elephants
question.
snore.
Only have the two.
It's like a cone. If an elephant snores and no one else is there, does it make a sound?
Yeah.
So I can't quite replicate it because I don't have the right instruments for it.
Naturally.
But it was a bit like, so she pulls out a flute, and I imagine there's some kind of wash basin or something like that, and sort of like pours water in it so it's like all wet and everything, and then blows through it and roughly recreates as best as she can get on a flute. Kind of what it sounds like. But it's probably a lot more pleasant than the actual snoring, but Carolina just thinks everything is amazing that China does. So
Oh.
it's just also new and different and cool.
Bonus. I'm glad I had her describe it. That's way cuter than what I was going to say. Now I kind of want to see if Chooch can make that sound happen, though. He's so good at creating sounds. A wet flute, babe.
Yeah, the bass
Basin,
is wet
got
flute.
So, it was pretty late when you all actually got to bed. It was probably like 2 in the morning. So, with the assumption that you all go ahead and just sleep to get your rest, which, you know,
Nedry would have been up for a little longer. He
Okay.
pulled out his book and started writing in it, and then that's where you find him the next morning, kind of slumped over the book, ink spread a little bit.
does he like
Muttering to himself.
some of the last couple of words were still wet and now they're reversed on his cheek?
Yeah, yeah. Probably been muttering in his sleep this entire time as well.
There'll be a blanket over him.
Oh,
Carolina makes a mental note. Just for later.
Zinhorn would have gotten up and made sure at least he had a blanket.
I think maybe you go looking for one and one kind of floats over.
Good. I make sure he's warm. I'm used. Zinhorn has never had a room of his own, so he's used to sleeping with a bunch of other people. So this is very comforting to him.
Very nice. So, you all are able to sleep long enough that you are fully rested. You receive your long rest, and your level up, of course. And you find that at some point there is sort of a gentle voice in the room that says, "Good morning, everyone. Feel no need to get up immediately if you would like to continue resting, but if you are ready, breakfast is being served on the roof."
is that the sort of thing that happens? Breakfast on the roofs?
Carolina
Apparently so.
doesn't ask questions. She just like pops up from where she was sitting, kind of tuning her lute, and just goes. This
Same.
is gonna be so neat.
Trina's just hungry.
Yeah. So,
Zinhorn
oh, go ahead.
will offer prayers to his deity and make the bed and then join everyone else on the roof.
Very nice. So sequential in the workshop, you also would have heard Sunya speak up to just say, "I expect that Surashana will continue to rest a little longer, but if you would like to join your friends on the roof, they are having breakfast."
Thank you. I think Sequential would go ahead and pack up a kind of a box of some ends and bobs and doodads and carry it up to the roof.
All right. There's we can go over in a little bit some of the things that you and Sorashana discovered about the devices that she recovered. We'll come back to that in a little bit. But as you all kind of make your way up from the cannon level, you're really almost to the roof already. It's just one level down. But you make your way up the stairs, and out there on the on the roof, what you have is it's about half of it in shade from one of the tier 4, which is not directly overhead, but off in one direction a little bit, and sunlight on another part of the roof. It's a fairly standard like castle roof with a stone floor up there, except that one side has what appears to be like a pilot's station. It has like a captain's wheel and some various other controls. But there is also in the center of it, just inside the shaded area, is a nice table set up where it's clear that the table is like brought out. It's not always there, but it's on a nice little rug, and it's already like set up with of various breakfast foods and chairs set out for all of you. And Yobert is seated at one end of the table. He has already begun eating. So when any of you emerge, he just says, "Good morning. I hope you rested well."
Carolina probably first to the top of the stairs and sort of like skids to a halt and remembers herself and like curtsies a little bit. "Good morning. We slept very well, thank you."
Glad to hear it. So is everybody up there?
Trina would have been right on her heels and actually bumped into her a little bit as she did her big grand moment, and she's just kind of playing it off a little.
So
Carolina's like finding her balance.
yeah, I was just going to say, just like from the physics of it, Carolina's skidding to a halt and then Trina bumping into her, and all of a sudden Carolina has all of that like momentum again. So whoa.
Well, she turned the bump into a bow. So
Fair enough.
We're getting used to each other.
Sequential would come in and see where people arrange and find where there's the most space and move to the not to impede anybody and set the box on the table. Say, "I do not have need to eat, but certainly work and talk."
Nedry's probably the
Great.
last one to come in. Oh, go ahead.
She just said great as she's piling food on her plate, which I assume is okay to do. She assumes.
Certainly you get a be my guest gesture from Yobert, who already has. So here's a question for everyone. I'm imagining that these are like classic breakfast food sorts of things, but are classic breakfast foods in Pashan, do they include anything notable or unusual?
I imagine there's a certain kind of sausage. You don't ever ask what's in it, but there's a very particular spice that is distinctive to this region. And so that's how you know the sausage is from Pashan, because it always has that spice flavor to it.
In fact, I would guess that sausage in Pashan is just called sausage, and it's the sort of thing where like other people make sausages, but it's like those are all called something special. This kind of sausage in Pashan is just sausage.
Everywhere else in the world, it's
just
called
covers the
Pashan
taste of whatever else is in there.
Yeah, but
I would
you
imagine
kinda,
there's small little pastries, like little tiny super sweet cupcakes that have a fruit grown in the region, kind of as the centerpiece of the cupcake on the center.
So there's also a bowl of kind of like granola muesli sort of stuff, and with some fruits and grains and berries and that sort of thing, and other sorts of breakfast foods.
Trina would be fascinated by, again, a pastry, similar mind, but they're this super delicate, tiny little pastries, and they've got little delicate, fine little layers, and she's fascinated with them because the bakers where she's from don't normally achieve that level of delicacy, and she's fascinated by the fact that there's so much flavor in those little tiny little like airlight layers. So that's the thing that she would have noticed about her time in Pashan, is these pastries that she finds just everywhere.
How does she eat? I need to see this. I want to, like, do you use your trunk or is it just hands? Like, what, how?
She's very aware that she eats differently. So she tries to eat like the humanoids around her do. So the wizard tiefling that came through ate with, ate with knife and fork and silverware and everything like that. So in preparing to come here, Trina became very disciplined with her trunk. And so when she's aware in a situation like this, she would be very aware, just meeting these people, not really understanding, really knowing where everything fits together. She would be very proper and she would be stumbling because she only has 4 fingers. So it makes like teacups and things hard. So she'll reach for a glass rather than a cup of coffee kind of a thing because she realizes that she's not that skilled with their type of cutlery and stuff yet. But here in this situation at the formal table in a castle, she is eating very carefully and her trunk is just there. It's not participating in this meal.
Except
Carolina
the
looks
smell.
slightly disappointed.
Well, yeah, now that's true. That's a good point, Paul. She does the tip of her trunk is just like going like a mile a minute sniffing things, but
Yeah.
she's trying so hard.
Well, I'm just imagining, sitting at the table with all these different things that the trunk is just kind of,
It starts to, and then she pulls it back because she's in control here. She's in control. But yeah, when she's forgetful and she's eating that delicacy, she's just like holding it up and eating it, and the trunk is just like can't believe the smells and wanting to be able to describe it to people back home and stuff like that. That's what most of her curiosity is trying to get all the information to relay it. Plus, she's just curious.
oh, go ahead.
There's also iron root, which you need to cut it with an axe, 2 hands, and you mix it with red hot coals before you go to bed, and in the morning it's nice and charred on the outside, and you break it open and it's nice and soft, kind of like sweet potato or an acorn squash inside. A little bit sweet, a little bit nutty, but yeah, if you don't roast it long enough, you could break a tooth on it.
Nice. So, as you're eating, Yobert says, Brennan is down in the kitchen. If you run out of anything that you would like more of, that can be taken care of. So I hope you all rested comfortably.
Very much so.
Yes.
Very comfortable.
It was
An
delightful.
abstract nod. A nod from Nedry. He's got his book open on one side. He's got a plate full of one of everything on the other side. And as he tastes one, he writes a note in his book, and he tastes another, writes another note in his book.
In case it eases any of your concerns, I've already been in touch this morning with the local magistrate in the Footlocker district. They have the affected area roped off. They've handed out some vouchers to some of the locals down there, and we're going to be in touch with everyone, the business and property owners down there, to see what compensation might be warranted in each of their cases. So all of that seems to be progressing nicely.
Oh, that's a relief. Thank
That's
you
good to
very
know.
much.
Of course. So, in the light of day, and on that basis, it's actually, I think, probably pretty nice. Like it's comfortable, cool morning, right? Like it's maybe in the like the low 60s, so maybe a little bit cool. There's a breeze, especially up here on top of the castle. You can kind of see around you that the work of the skyport is kind of coming to life. There's some airships coming and going, and in fact, he says, I often like to break my fast up here. In mornings, clear ones like this, you can even see Nocticula, the Skyport spirit, is quite visible. And I think, he's gesturing up, and this is something obviously I'm sharing with all of you as players now, but would not be new information to anyone who lived in the city for any amount of time. The Skyport spirit is essentially like a giant floating sort of jellyfish with its little tendrils that kind of occasionally will assist or sometimes interfere with the various like cargo operations, but it's generally very like spectral, like sort of ethereal. Like you can't always completely see it, and some days it's more translucent than others, and that sort of thing. But it's generally something that cargo workers will make offerings and rituals with the hope that the Nocticula, the spirit, will protect them from labor accidents or falling or anything like that. And so he says, so on this fine morning, have all of you had the opportunity to do some thinking about my offer?
Oh, yes.
Yes, 100% on board.
I'm thinking about it too. I'm thinking about a lot of things. He kind of pauses, writes something down. Do you have a title? Should I call you Mr. Renlith? Or I don't think Yofer is right. That seemed like it sounded wrong.
Yofer seems it's sort of a special thing between Sorashana and I. Yobert is what I would request. If you wanted to be formal, Lord Relenth would still be technically appropriate, but certainly I think in these times the formality is less and less required unless we are performing specific business. But here we're having breakfast in my home. It's fine. You can call me Yobert.
Okay, I'll call you Yolbear. You can call me Nedry. I don't have any other title. I might someday. Master says that usually once you get really, really good at magic, they start giving you all kinds of names. But I don't think all of those are nice names. I think some of those are very unnice names. I don't really want an unnice name. But I'll probably get one. I mean, I've had a few already, but I don't think they were really meant for me to hear. It's okay. I wrote them down.
I've spoken with my boss back at the orphanage, and he has okayed me to accept your offer.
Wonderful.
I should probably send a note to Emerald just to let him know that I'll be gone for a while. He has a repair studio anyway, so he won't need me in the immediate future anyhow. So.
You are welcome to use the sending stone if you would like.
Oh, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Trina.
Mm.
How
Yeah.
about you?
No, I as I said last night, I'm interested in joining the little adventures. It exactly meets what my goals are here while I'm, traveling in this area. So being able to explore and see things and be able to tell my people back home about it, that's literally what my goals are. So I don't need to contact anybody else. I speak for myself.
Excellent. I am very pleased to have all of you on board, metaphorically and literally. So, I can have some contracts drawn up. I assure you that at least from my part, you will want to look them over. But from my perspective, these contracts are not meant to bind you so much as to lay out in specific terms what our arrangement will be, just so that you are protected in case there should ever be a time when you want to move on or anything like that. I hope that it will not be taken as something suspect. I just find that with a business arrangement, it is best to have things in writing.
That seems quite reasonable.
So, I will have those drawn up. But here is where I have another question for each of you. And this may be something that will be a question that is ongoing in its answer. But the short version is, what do you need in order to be ready for our shared mission?
That is impossible to know without knowing what the mission is and what dangers may be on the other side.
Where are we going?
The offer was to investigate pocket dimensions. I think making sure that we have some way of getting back to this place in time, first and foremost, would be a requirement.
So, to be clear, I don't have a specific pocket dimension that is all known and mapped and explored already that I can describe to you. I hope that our mission will be to find them and discover the means in and out. And so that would be our next task, is to locate one of these pocket dimensions to investigate it. And absolutely, I concur that we would want to ensure that you have a means of return. But that's, in a manner of speaking, part of the job. And so what I'm asking is, how can I best prepare you to be ready for that job?
Do you have any notes on where you've been before, or where Sarah Shawn has been before? And in particular, the portal devices that were used. I took a sketch of them, but it wasn't really all that accurate because we kind of got sucked through the portal before I had a chance to finish it. And on the other side, it kind of exploded, so I don't really know if it's going to exist anyway. And then there's the whole crystal thing, like the crystal is inside the creature. Is that like a normal crystal that would power it? Except it wasn't because it exploded, so I probably presume that, yeah, something like that would help.
My understanding is that there are a number of pocket dimensions that are accessed through something that Sorashana calls midnight stones. And my understanding is from your description that that is the case for the one you all encountered last night. Not all pocket dimensions use such things, but certainly where we have encountered midnight stones at all, that was their purpose. Sorashana has notes of her own on that. She did believe that there was one in that general proximity, and so I imagine that is what she went in search of when she left the castle last night, is to find this midnight stone. And I believe that she has some means of detecting when one is near that she calls a pocket, but I am not 100% clear on how that operates.
I think we all saw it, and I don't think that we quite understand how it operates either.
She didn't really explain all that much. It was like she didn't really want to say anything, except the
Yeah.
other voice did. That was Kosh, right? I got to find out what Kosh is too. You think Kosh would talk to me on their own, or do I have to be there with Sarashana, or does Sarashana have to be there with it? Are they really separate beings, or maybe they're the same thing? I wonder if one sleeps while the other one's awake, or if they both stay awake and sleep at the same time. That would be kind of weird.
In my experience, Kosh communicates exclusively through Sorashana. And I mean that Sorashana explains what Kosh wants to say. Your description of encountering Kosh in a dream is new to me.
So
There was a distinct voice.
There was the other thing, that letter that we found. It mentioned maybe it was a place, maybe it was a person. Dinuther?
mentioned a lot of things.
Dinuther?
Denethor, yeah. in danger, no longer safe.
Right.
We should find Izeld. I think we did find Alistair.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if perhaps it seems like it might be very old. Maybe one of the libraries or halls of records or something within the city might have information or some sort of reference to
Yes.
it.
We're going
or
on a
them.
research trip?
So yes, I absolutely could request access for you to some of the libraries at the Pashan Imperial University. I do know some people there. Certainly, that would be one, you know, approach for researching. I'm not familiar with these names as you mentioned, but certainly I know no better place to study such things than the university.
And clearly, this person had some sort of connection to Pashan if it was enough to build one of these portals here to their little pocket dimension trash yard. Maybe they didn't like Pashan very much.
I wonder if the professor still works there.
I believe they called it the disposal.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Just
Well, I
the
have
one?
a lot of questions. No, I actually have 7, but I'll try only one at a time.
That eases my ability to answer.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out which question to ask. Is this secret?
Which do you mean?
Well, I sort of, there's a whole lot of people who are really smart who get together and we all tell each other all the smart things that we figured out. And I sort of owe them a few papers from a while ago, and I'd like to share the information with them if I can. But I understand if this is something that's really private to you, then I don't want to actually let everybody in the world know. And not that it's everybody in the world. The group is really only about 20 people, 15 mainly, but the other 5, we often throw in things. They don't really have a lot to say, usually commentary on other people's papers. But,
I think I understand what you mean. Your employment here and our collective mission. From my perspective, there is no reason to keep it secret. Now, there will, of course, be the possibility that we might discover something that we together collectively would determine is best kept secret, but there is nothing that I would proactively designate that way.
but I thought this was personal for you.
Well, it is, but it's personal in that I wish to help people and make the world a better place by exploring it and understanding it. That's not done by secreting my discoveries away.
Okay. Do you know the name of that other pastry that's over there? I don't think I know that one.
What is it, everyone? What is that pastry? It is,
Drawing a blank.
It's name of pastry day.
it is balloon cakes, where part of what happens is that there's sort of a big pocket of air. It sort of inflates like a balloon as it's cooked, and so that hollow is filled with something like jelly or that sort of thing. So it ends up coming out kind of like a big sort of ball.
Oh. I will change my approach to eating them. It sort of came out on the other side.
It's basically a jelly delivery device.
Yeah. They
I
have
have a
savory
question.
ones as
Hungry.
well.
Exploration of these dimensions sounds like can be dangerous. Is it?
Can
Just-
be, yes. And so I would, of course, wish for you to be equipped with whatever you feel is necessary, and of course, to take all necessary precautions. I expect that there will be some danger involved, though I do not wish you to risk your lives needlessly. I trust that you will exercise good judgment in that regard, and that the primary goal in any expedition would be your safe return.
Would it
Master always
be-
says safety first.
Would it be possible to have you procure something akin to a scroll of gate or plane shift? Those spells are far too high level for me to cast normally, but if there's some way for me to cast them via a scroll,
So,
or something that maybe the wizard can do.
I think from a world building perspective, Gate is 8th level, I think.
Ninth, I think.
Well, so 8th or 9th, I would say those are exceedingly rare. So that would be like, you know, to say, hey, can I get a Gate scroll, would be a little bit like, hey, can you buy me a summer home?
He
Yeah.
said anything.
Yeah.
Well, what
No,
about-
I know.
Say
He
anything.
did.
Right,
I'm just
right.
saying from a
Just
world building
understand the
perspective.
impact.
Yeah. Plane shift
Go-
is probably comparatively more reasonable.
That's level 7.
Is it? I was thinking it was
It's
6,
five.
I
but
think so. Yeah, it's
The level
much
five.
lower. Starla and I were wielding that like it seems like really much lower than that.
It says
The con-
7th level according to
Hmm.
what I'm looking at, but I may be reading it wrong.
I may be remembering it wrong, but
Yeah.
Trina having
it is 7th level.
being on a
I thi-
similar excursion currently, her focus would be if there was a way to communicate in case there was some sort of dire need that came up, being able to communicate back with Yobear, and then, you know, how, if there's a problem with the portal, because of her experience with the portal dimension, her pocket dimension being like a seasonal type of thing, it's not always there. What if we go through one and it's 6 years to return or 12 years to return, you know? She would
Or
be of a
80.
similar mind to Zenhorn, or 80, to make sure that we can get back as quickly as we need to
Right.
without having to find our way back to that little
Yeah.
what'd you call it, a midnight stone or whatever we're using to access that other area.
It's this would be for emergency use only.
Yeah.
Only
Right.
after we've exhausted all other options, or
Right.
we're in.
Not like a bus
imminent-
pass, not like a frequent
Yeah.
travel thing.
So I have a question just from a world building standpoint. Do people have a general working knowledge of like what the tree does, like Emerald arboreus, like how the branches like
I
go all
would.
over the place?
I would say that people like understand the basics of what it does without necessarily knowing how like the arcane details of what's happening so much as what they know is somehow you climb the tree and you can go to other planes. But it's also true that the tree goes to like the major known planes. It's not clear that you could just go to any random pocket dimension.
That seems like the kind of thing Cadence would know. Oh well.
So I think to answer about the scrolls, I think he, you know, just to put the question in the world building context, is that he probably can obtain a scroll of plane shift, but it is like extremely expensive and hard to obtain. Can be done, but should not be treated as disposable, like, you know, oh, whenever we feel like it. It's like big deal if in dire need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If someone's about to die, or or if we have literally run out of food in a pocket dimension and there's nothing else in there, and we can't we've tried everything that we can possibly try, and we've waited as long as we could. It's very much like an emergency rope ladder. You have one in every dorm, and at least in case of a fire, people will be able to get out of the building.
Yeah.
So
Maybe thinking a bit smaller. What about any healing potions in case of emergency?
Yes, of course. So, and also just like in context, like if we were to put like financial things on it, like a scroll of plane shift is something on the order of like 10,000 gold for one scroll. So that's why it's not like sure, we'll hand them out one for each of you, that sort of
Totally.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the absolutely, yes, we could arrange. So what I would suggest for those sorts of traveling gear, I would suggest that you can shop as you need, and I can offer you a line of credit on that basis. I think that anything that would be above perhaps 100 gold a piece, we can discuss, but anything short of that, I think, can be arranged trivially.
I would like a
I'm-
10-foot pole. A lot of stories seem to involve a 10-foot pole. I don't know exactly why, but I think I should have one.
Edry,
Seems
if I may,
unwieldy.
how do you propose to get through doorways?
Well, I would turn the pole sideways, silly.
But
I'm not
you wouldn't
stupid.
be able to hold anything else in your hands.
Well, I mean, okay, it's a little bit problematic, I admit, but it's important to the stories. I don't know why, so it seemed like it was an important thing.
Maybe we should talk to Sorashana and see if she has any ideas.
So on this basis, I think sequential now is a reasonable time that you might share some of what you know of the gizmos that she had already, that you had sort of looked through, and a lot of them you didn't, So after the fun with the gas grenade. She definitely determined that some of those things seem to be like one-use things, right? Like it's designed to go off once and then that's it. But some of them also seemed to be able to function over a longer period of time, but you didn't necessarily try all of them. It's more just a matter of through study, you kind of figured out the basics of what probably each one would do. And some of them are, certainly very unusual. So there was a pouch of what looks like seeds, and in fact, they are designed to be planted, but what they grow are robots that will grow into a person-sized robot that can help with tasks for 8 hours.
Ooh.
Wow.
There's also a little thing that looks a little bit like a caulking gun, but what it does is spray out a layer of what seems like bread dough that rapidly cooks itself and then hardens into a layer of hard bread. But it comes out you can layer it, so you could make shapes with it, and if you took the
So it's like
time, you could
Cheez
even
Whiz?
make a wall, you could fill a doorway or something like that. But what it ends up is hard bread, and it also has an emergency mode where you could basically spray out a ton of it all at once in a big blob. There are a couple of more of those sorts of grenade type things. One of them seems to be designed to break up fights because it is designed to basically reduce hostile feelings in anybody within a certain radius. There's another one that seems like it's designed to explode into a big, like, bunch of, like, slippery soap. There is what looks like an endless coil of rope. Like, you could just keep pulling out rope. And, like, it just keeps going. And then you reel it back in or cut it or whatever, but it seems like it's just like infinite rope. It's probably not actually infinite, but it's impossible to know how much total is really in there. But it's like, it seems like, at least in a short-term basis, like it's infinite. There is a little, a very tiny little rod that has at the tip of it what looks like a tiny mechanical wasp. And what it seems designed to do is you point it at someone and then it goes and like bugs them like a wasp attacking someone. And it's like to keep someone distracted. It doesn't look like it would like hurt them, but it's designed to harass them like a wasp would.
Would it disrupt someone who's trying to cast a spell?
Potentially.
Sounds like something I need.
Some of these things I would say don't get too bogged down in like the mechanics of it right now. We can kind of talk about that if you're using them in context. But and then last but not least, there's a very bizarre device that looks like what it's designed to do is fit, like you fit it in your mouth like a dental appliance. And then it's almost like having a bag of holding, except that your mouth becomes the opening. So you can effectively, like anything that you can fit into your mouth, you sort of eat into a dimensional space.
Is that Tenedri?
You could put a 10-foot pole in there.
And you can recover it. So like actually on that basis, literally, like yeah. So like as long as it can fit in through the mouth, and then items can be recovered as well. But
You could put a
the
really
size of your
long
mouth
string of
is
sausages in there and then take them out as we need them.
Who made these? What are they made of? How do you make stuff like this? It looks kind of mechanical, but not exactly, and I don't understand how seeds work. They're not really machines, unless they are machines. My dad tried to explain that to me once, and it didn't really make any sense. But I'm not sure if he was actually talking about seeds. It might have been a metaphor.
Well, so a lot of these things were recovered from the disposal, and Ellister had said in the letter that he was there amongst his own failed experiments, but does
Are
that
these
mean
failed
he made them, or what? I don't know.
It
These are
seems to
amazing.
indicate that he made them. Although, I wonder if we put food in it, would it rot? Or
Only one
could
way,
we use
one
it
way
as
to
a
find out.
food
Experiment.
storage. Yeah, but
I'll start making a list.
that yes, please do. They certainly sound like interesting things to adventure with. Although I think more practical would be what Carolina suggested, which would be some healing potions.
Certainly. And I suppose if there were a similar backpack to what Shoshana uses, because there may be significant numbers of items to bring back. So another, maybe something that, it's bigger than a mouth.
He says that that is her own construction, and so he's not sure whether Sorashana would actually, on a regular basis, want to be accompanying you on all of these trips, because in general she has not shown that inclination in the past. She kind of goes out and experiments sometimes, but is mostly afraid to leave the castle. So but that is her device, and he wouldn't know where to get another. So it would be a question of whether she would be willing to loan it to you or not.
Certainly.
I
Or,
think- Yeah, I think what
a
you-
mundane bag of holding.
Sure. So Sequential, would you have asked her about any of her other stuff, like the mask or the pocket that she, as she called it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I think she would have told you the backpack is straightforward, at least in terms of what its function is. It's designed to hold various things, but the different sort of compartments in it, it has like separate little pockets in it, so to speak, that have different properties inside. Like one of them, there's no air inside. The other one is air. There's one that's cold, and so on. But none of them are that big. It's, we're not talking about like 10 cubic, 10 feet on a side cube. We're talking about like much smaller, but it's just a difference between like, you would want this one in the waterproof one and this one, in the one with no air and so on. And then the mask basically lets her see into the border ethereal. And also she said something that didn't 100% make sense to you, which she said it makes people easier, which it's a little bit unclear what she meant, and she didn't seem to want to elaborate on it. So was she just meaning like she feels better when she doesn't have to like make eye
Right.
contact with people, or they don't see her face, or whether there's something more to it? You're not clear. She didn't feel like that was one thing that she didn't seem to want to elaborate more on. The other things she seemed fine to talk about. But it lets her see into the border ethereal. And then what the pocket does is what it does essentially, and you discover that this was something she didn't make but she found, is that it literally, when it's in the presence or nearby the proximity of a pocket dimension, there is a chance that it will just like extract something from the pocket dimension into the little pocket. She can't control it, but given enough time, something might come through it. But she doesn't have any control over what it would be or when it happens. It's just something that it seems to be a semi-random thing, but that when it's in the proximity of a pocket dimension, sometimes things will pop through, and she tends to use it to confirm that there's one in the area. She says usually if she's been in a place for an hour and nothing has happened, then she's pretty sure that she's not close enough.
Mm-hmm.
Does she have any other pocket dimension finding tools?
She had the little the little probe that she said she had used to operate some like Midnight Stone related stuff, but that was destroyed in that last encounter with the door. She doesn't really have anything else other than like in terms of devices.
Cool.
Do you think she would loan us the pocket? I'm not saying that we would necessarily find anything, but if we were going to go and do research like at the library, we'd be there for a while, and if anything was going to happen there, probably we'd be there long enough for it to happen.
Yobert says, are you asking Yobert, or who are you
Well,
asking?
I would
know-
imagine that he would be the one who would know whether or not
Yeah,
she'd...
so I just mean, we had a little bit of like not 100% in character talk there, so I was just kind of trying to bring us back to that. So like if you're asking Yobert, what he would say is, I will not speak for Sorashana in giving you permission to take any of her things, but I imagine that if you explain why you need it, that she might very well be willing to loan it to you.
She has
course, it
another
would
way of
just be a
finding them,
loan.
though. I mean, she must. If the pocket only works when she's close by one of those things, she would just randomly go places maybe and find stuff. But she didn't randomly go places. She went specifically to that bar, and moreover, she or maybe Kosh or maybe the both of them. I'm not really sure how that works yet. Both of them sent us there too. So if we were there and she was there at the same time, it was not a coincidence. So something sent them there. Do you know how that works? Eobar, right?
That, I'm afraid, is a mystery to me. I know that some of what she does is research, and I try to arrange for her to have the books or other research materials that she requests when she requests them. But part of what impressed me so much upon getting to know her is that she frequently has remarkable insights that perhaps they come from Kosh. It's not entirely clear to me. Perhaps it's just her own unique mind. But frequently she makes what would appear to me to be guesses that seem to bear fruit more often than randomness would suggest.
My guesses don't really work out. I tried using them once and it didn't seem to work out because I couldn't figure out where the P was, but that's okay. It didn't really matter. I only lost 10 gold. It was kind of painful, but that's okay. I wasn't really using it for anything, although I really could have used a new spell book. It turns out the master gave me an old one anyway. He just erased the pages. I'm not sure how he did that. We need to know who owned that building before the other fellow did, the oaf, because whoever owned the building had that thing under the floor. And it might have been Alistair's. If it was connected to his lab, then that might have actually been where his lab was at one point, although I don't think it's there anymore because that doesn't make any sense.
In order, yes, I share your feeling that sometimes guesses don't turn out as intended. In my experience, anyway, we do our best. I think that in many cases, the means of discovering pocket dimensions has sometimes been done just the old-fashioned way. A pocket dimension, its presence in an area is often reflected in the local folklore or rumors, whether it's rumors of hearing the presence of unknown voices late at night, rumors of people disappearing. Many sorts of things can potentially hint at the location of a pocket dimension in the area. And sometimes that sort of research has also been where you can find such things. In my own experience as an adventurer, that's how I encountered the ones that I encountered, was following up on those sorts of rumors. I agree, though, entirely that researching the history of who owned the building before the tavern was built there, absolutely that's something I can probably assist with as well, given that I'm already in communication with the district magistrate on that. I will try to find out more about the history of the building.
Although listening intently, he's already sort of wandered away from paying attention too much, and he's flipped to the back of his book, pulled out a sheet of paper, and started scribbling madly on it.
Speaking of not paying attention, when Nedry was talking about things, she got distracted and started kind of laughing to herself about his reference to finding the P. And you maybe hear her hum a few little snatches of song every now and then, just kind of interspersed between little giggles. But yeah, definitely not paying attention.
So I think actually in the middle of your sort of idling, Carolina, you receive a sending in your head. and you recognized Emriel's voice. And the sending is, Carolina, you okay? City bureaucrats showed up with gold and paperwork. Could use your help digging a few things out if you're free. Bring friends. And so you can reply to that.
Okay, so I would basically I don't think I would tell him right off because say a bit busy at the moment. I will explain as soon as I can.
All right.
And then she just kind of sinks back and feels a little guilty. Poked at a pastry a little bit.
All right.
With a flourish, Nedry finishes writing with this fancy pen, this crystalline pen and the big blue feather, folds up the piece of paper, kind of kinks it a couple of times, tosses it up in the air, and like a little butterfly, it starts to fly away.
Sequential's has been fiddling with a rod and some wires and some different tools, and actually going to carry it over to Nedry and say, I noticed you use arcane spell focuses.
You like it? My brother made it. And
Perhaps
hold up
you...
the crystal pen.
Ah. Well, try this one. And if you like how it works, I could perhaps modify yours.
What's it look like?
It's very plain, like steel rod with basically some scratches where he's kind of unscrewed a part of it or cut it and caused it to make a screw thing and screwed it. And so it's, a little scratchy, a little ugly.
It's very... And he kind of looks terrified and frightened, like he wants to run away. Nice. Kind of hold on to it, move it back and forth a little bit.
Perhaps experiment. Let me know what you think.
Oh, I do like to experiment. And he puts it down, picks up the other one, starts writing in his book.
And then I would actually walk over to Trina and say, it sounds that this may be dangerous. You seem to be the most capable of dealing with danger, at
He
least.
blushes.
Which weapon would you say is your favorite or preferred?
Well, I think right now I'm checking my sheet just to make sure that I don't give the wrong answer. Because I went back and forth for a while. Well, I like to use my scimitar with a short sword, but I also really, really like my great axe. I kind of switch between them. The great axe is really my favorite.
Do you mind if I examine it?
Certainly, and she just hands it right over, full trust.
You take that back over to the corner and fiddle with it. That's going to take a little while.
That's exciting.
Nedry holds onto this weird metal rod and starts to cast a spell. It's going to take a while.
Mechanically, it's an enhanced arcane focus. It'll give you +1 to all of your magical stuffs. And ignores half cover for ranged
Nice.
spell attacks.
Very nice. These are your artificer infusions, correct?
Infusion, yes, which unlocked at level 2. Over a nighttime of study.
And so this is what you were talking about, where every day you pick X number that you have active that day, right?
Yeah. So it works. It changes as you level up. But initially, I know 4 different types of infusions, and I can have 2 items infused simultaneously at any given time, and basically change them up each day. So it could remove an infusion from one and add an infusion to something else each day, or just
Nice.
keep them the same if things are working. But if we have an idea of what we're coming up against, then he can do a little prep.
That's awesome.
That he gestures with the fancy thing, and unfortunately breaks a glass with this thing because it's a lot heavier than the feather he's used to. And he kind of looks apologetic, and then the glass kind of mushes itself into a pile. Oh, thanks, Rhea.
I think you hear Sunia say, I can take care of that when you're here, if you like, Nedry.
Well, I mean, I don't know how well you can make me not break glasses. I don't do it all the time. I just was not used to this thing. It's a lot heavier than I'm used to. It looks more like something my dad would make.
No, I
that
mean,
never really
your
made much
unseen servant is not needed here. I can do it.
Oh, that's okay. Freya likes to be here, don't you? And he kind of turns to empty space. See?
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insult you. I know you're very, very powerful. You're like a whole castle and everything that makes it fly. And you can do that thing with the armor, which Freya probably could do. I haven't really had her try to do something like that. I've really tried to do her much more than hold my book, really. But that's really, really helpful. And she's my friend, so I don't really want to insult her or you because you're my friend, too.
No answer.
Sonia,
Yes?
I had a question. If it's not some people are a bit delicate about it, but may I ask how old you are?
Ah, well, I suppose that depends a little bit on what you mean precisely. The castle itself was originally constructed, I believe the original construction was done some 95 years ago, but it was completed 10 years after that. But it wasn't until it had been in operation for some time that I became who I am now.
Interesting. I'm sure you've seen all sorts of people come and go from here.
Oh, indeed, yes. Although it has been a long time since we've had so many new people, it's very exciting to have guests. I do hope you will stay and that you will enjoy your time here.
Oh, I certainly will. And if you ever, I don't know if you get bored, but if you would ever care to entertain me, I would love to listen to some of your stories sometimes.
Oh, well, perhaps in our next evening at home, we can get into it.
Oh, that would be lovely. I love stories.
So I think at this point, Brennan comes up the stairs and he's carrying sort of a platter that has like a fresh batch of the sausages, and he kind of sets them down and just says, "So everybody enjoy your breakfast?"
Oh, it was very delicious. Thank you so much.
It was
Those are
lovely.
empirically my favorite.
Oh, great! Yeah. So have all you like. It's been a little while since I cooked for this many people, but still got it. I Sunia filled me in that it sounds like you're all on board, so that's great. Are you going to want to stay in that in the cannonade room, or let me know if there's anything that I can do for you. I think I'm mostly going to be staying here for now, but whatever you need.
Well, it seems like we should make a plan. There's certainly a bunch of research that needs to be done based on the letter we found, and looking into the bar itself. I suggest that some of us go research one and some of us go research the other.
So, I should maybe tell you, I got a message from Emerald, and he wanted to know if I was busy and if I could bring friends to help dig out Cunning Oaf.
I would love to help.
It might be an opportunity to ask him who he bought the place from, or I mean, I suppose that would probably be in some kind of records and wherever
Well-
they keep deeds to places and things.
Well,
I
he
don't-
may have copies of those records buried under all of the stuff that he filled
lot of
up his
digging.
bar with.
I
There
think
may be a wall to get knocked down.
I think Yobert says, certainly I can help with whatever formal paperwork would be at the magistrate's office, but it's certainly true in this city that not everything gets written down.
So yeah, I think at some or all of us should go back to the bar first and help dig out and see what history we can discover.
And I
Maybe
should probably tell him in
Sorashana-
person that I'm leaving. That
Maybe
seems-
Sorashana can go because I mean there might be more shiny things in the pile that she needs to get.
We could keep a lookout.
Yeah. I think I can adequately identify anything necessary.
Yeah, I think you did after getting, like you saw that, what she had pulled out of the place was mostly the things that had seemed to have already been set aside. So I think that I think in discussing, them with Sorashana, you came to the collective theory that if these things were things that Ellister had put in the disposal, it might have been that when he was trapped there, he looked for the things that he thought might be useful to him when he was there and had already set them aside, which doesn't mean that there's nothing else at all, right? But so the things that she grabbed were those things, though, is the point. So there might be other things that might be useful, and you sort of feel like you know the look of, a device that might be more completed as opposed to just like unassembled parts or, things that look more obviously damaged.
That being said, we should certainly see if she wants to go.
When we were in that pocket dimension, we all saw the body. Did it look like? Could we identify species? Like, was it human? Or...
For that matter, I think you do still have the body, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really want to. I don't want the cloak back either. I'm good.
Well, so
I'll need a new cloak.
One thing that I think might occur to Zinhorn is that some of the priests at the Temple of Rashama have the capability of casting Speak with Dead. Which, if you have the remains, and it's enough of a remains that it has like a jaw, that you could potentially get some information that way as well. Now, one of the things that you know about that spell is you're not actually pulling the person's soul from whatever afterlife it had ever had. So you would only be getting sort of the animating spirit of this person. It would only know things that it knew when it was alive. But that it would potentially, and it's not obligated to tell you anything that person wouldn't want to.
Okay.
And frequently the answers tend to be a little cryptic anyway, but that is something that theoretically could be done.
So speak with dead.
But to my question, did this person?
Yes,
look human?
it was human as far as you could tell.
Okay.
So that's third level. So yeah, we could probably get that done without too much difficulty. That would be very useful, at least as far as personal background goes. And
Yeah, I think you believe that not only so at the Temple of Rushama, you have kind of enough like pull with them that you could have them do it for you. there's also
Okay.
just the question of like what you actually do intend to do with the body.
Right. I had completely forgotten about it.
So, as far as plans go, then, Sequential and I should probably go to the Cunning Oaf. There's a stop at the temple, and then maybe Nedry and China can head to the library.
Sure.
You want to come to the library? I can show you around.
That'd be great. I'd love to see it. I haven't made it there yet. Been meaning to.
I'm sure they'll let me back in.
What?
I think you'll need the bodyguard.
So one of the things that I'll share with people who would, know the city reasonably well at all, the Pashan Imperial University has been. Hang on, I'm trying to. Where's my? Here we go. It's been around for a long time, and historically, it used to be just sort of a people given special dispensation to study there could, essentially become wizards and study there at that university. But it was a relatively small, like prestigious, very exclusive sort of thing for a long time. But it has since then grown a lot, especially just because there's been a lot more growth in the fields of mage rites, which is essentially people who will specialize in a few relatively low level spells and then kind of like that's where they stop, right? Like they will learn, mending and cantrips and other basic levels of magic. And so there's a lot more people that know a little bit of magic because you can study sort of those low level, if you imagine it like an associate's degree or something like that, right? And so there's the old campus, which is what there used to be, but now there's also the downtown campus where most people study, right? And you would go through like your preliminary magical education in the downtown campus if you're attending the Imperial University. And then there's also the Institute for Advanced Magic, where there's like, it's a lot of like laboratories for technical research, and it's not like studying for known things, it's experimentation for new things, right? So there's the old campus, which is for like if you're getting your doctorate in enchantment or something like that. The downtown campus, which is like where most people go, and then there's the Institute for Advanced Magic. But the university library is in the old campus. And so you would know that. But there's also the Ravenquill district, which is basically, there's a lot of people who want to study magic that don't necessarily want or care or are allowed to be part of the university. So they do their own thing. And the Ravenquill district is where a lot of that happens. So the idea that people, can be very good and accomplished wizards without ever going through the university is absolutely true. But generally speaking, that's a little bit more like less regulated, a little bit more fly by night, that sort of thing. So the question,
I feel like Master Finster's tower is in the Ravenquill district.
Yeah. So part of the question would be like so what Yobert sort of offered is that he could probably give you, get you some inroads to, like, normally speaking, like the public can't just go to the old campus library, if that's what you wanted, right? Now they would have a more limited library that would be open to the public in the downtown campus, but it just depends on kind of what you want to try to do.
So Nedry's driving, right?
Well, I mean, the bigger and older the library is, the more information it contains. The experimental stuff is fun. I haven't actually had a chance to go there. That would be cool, but not probably today. And if we have a special paper that says we can be there, they'll probably let us in. Not like last time.
So, I think that the old campus is like across town, right? It's in like the old part of the city. It's a ways away. Whereas the the Cunning Oaf, you obviously walked here from there last night, so you know it's not that far, and it's actually on the way.
And what about the temple?
The temple, I think, is probably. I think that would probably be in the old part of the city too. So it's not right. It's not part of the university campus, but it's kind of in that general direction until you would get closer.
Okay.
So this is absolutely the geography of the city and has nothing to do with the idea that you could all go together to the Cunning Oaf first and then split up.
I mean, I think that makes sense if it's on the way. Trying
Many
is
hands
curious.
make light work.
Amen.
Well, yeah. So I mean, as you like. So if you want to split up, that is allowed.
Well, I think one thing that
I'm
I
just-
would ask for, talking to Yobear, it's like, I know you've already spent a great deal in repairing the damage and all of those things.
In progress, but
In
yes.
progress, yes. I was wondering if I might get a few coins to perhaps collect people looking for a little bit of work on the way that they could maybe help dig out.
You just proposed to. I think that the city is probably arranging that. I mean, I'm not opposed to doing
Well,
something informally, but I think
I got the impression from Emerald that help was needed.
does he have like special things that he needs immediately?
I don't know, but sometimes these things go very, very slowly.
That I can understand. I mean,
And it
it's-
would help ease the blow of me telling him that I'm leaving.
Well, it's my understanding that the city intends to clean that up, but you're probably right that it won't happen this morning.
And I think he would probably, maybe if nothing else, just like to get to his clothes or personal belongings, maybe. I'm trying to think. We'll say he has his own rooms above.
Let
there,
me put
so-
it this way. I have just offered you a line of credit because I trust you all that you will do the things that are productive for the team's mission. And if making you feel comfortable that your employer and friend is taken care of, then I trust your judgment. Do please
just
keep track
judging
of
from
what
the,
you spend, but yes.
Well, it wouldn't need to be much. I know there are people all the time that are just sort of have nothing better to do, or they do, but they don't have jobs. So this would be a way for them to at least be able to eat today.
All right.
Okay.
So so just as a brief stepping out, like, are you talking about the people who were displaced by this whole thing, or are you just
No,
talking
I'm
about,
just going to
like-
collect people
Okay.
along the way and,
All right.
and say, hey,
Well, so
I have a job if you want it.
all right. So I'm not sure I want to convey the implication that this city has just like dozens of homeless people
No, but
lining the streets.
if they
everywhere.
can't go to the bar, they need something to do, right?
Okay, but it's also like 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So
there's got to be somebody.
all right. I'm going to suggest in a meta sense that you don't just round up a crowd of people before you have even seen what needs to be done. And I'll say Yobert does that, to say, in my experience, it's best to evaluate for yourself in person the scope of a job before you hire people. That's why I contacted the city magistrate and assessors to deem what's necessary before beginning the work. So I am not opposed to you hiring on anyone you feel necessary, but I'm not sure just people you pass on the street is going to necessary. I'm not opposed to the idea necessarily, but is that your intention
You did
to
say
just
bring friends, and I mean, so many friends around. So
Well, I'm
All right.
happy to go there. We can go to the library after, so count me as a friend to help if that helps to alleviate your worries.
Carolina, I trust your judgment.
just in a meta sense, I'm not sure that's wise, but we'll see.
Okay, yeah. No, that's fine. This is yeah. So I am willing as DM to let Carolina make problems for herself.
Making friends, not problems.
Well, but yeah, I'm just imagining saying, like, let's say you know someone who runs a restaurant and there was a fire or something and they ask for help cleaning up. And what you do is you go down there and then just stop random people on the street on the way saying, you want to help clean up my friend's restaurant? I'll pay you. And then you show up with a pack of strangers. That doesn't feel to me like it would go over well, but I don't know.
He seems kind of secretive, based on the way y'all have described him. So
I am 100% open to let you as Carolina
think it
do
sounds
whatever
like
you
fun.
want. Okay,
Is,
but
this the same,
Traumatize him.
is this the same technique she uses for getting customers for the oath? Just sort of walking along the street, picking up random people and bringing them in as customers.
well, it's also just like, who are these random people who don't already have somewhere to go or somewhere to do? Like, there's just you just say like, hey, you on the park bench, want a job? I mean, I think you're going to get a lot of people saying, no, go away. Who are you?
Well, I would probably open something more like, "Hey, do you want to earn a silver?" And I mean, it's a large city, and just statistically speaking,
Yeah.
large cities just have a portion of the population that are in need, and this.
Well, okay, sure. But are you going to encounter them just walking down the street on the way to the bar? And are those people that you just happen across? Like,
I guess we'll find out.
okay, this is where Starla forces Christiana to come up with 18 new NPCs on the spot.
She could detour
Maybe
past
there's a
the
gang
old
of
folks'
ruffians.
home.
I don't know.
All right, so no,
She's
you're-
on to you, Starla.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just I like this. Any judgment here should only be interpreted as Christiana, the person, not the DM, thinking that seems like a bad plan to me. But as DM, Christiana, the DM, is happy to let Carolina, the player character, have a bad plan and try to execute it. But I guess what I'm trying to provide is the meta context that Christiana, the person, thinks that's not likely to go well and is communicating that to Starla, the player.
Starla, the player, is okay with this.
All right. Okay, so
Go grab all the moms in the park who need a little extra money. Some people from the
mean, you
old
wanna-
folks home.
Want a terrible suggestion? Zinhorn has a whole orphanage.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
We got
And
a
actually,
whole-
that did occur to
whole
me.
building full of orphans.
well,
I
like
feel like
The
we
pe-
can go see what's happening before we decide who.
that's
we
kind of what I was
Crusoe.
saying too. Is like
Yeah.
you're not even going to go there and find out what he actually wants or needs. You're just going to show up with people that you've promised money to do what?
I mean, this could be. I
Okay,
need
so
you
it's a
and 3
20-minute
friends
walk.
to lift my bed so I can get my porn collection from underneath. It's not like he said, bring an army. He said, bring friends. It'll be okay.
Okay, so I just want, like, if we need the help, we will go and I will go and find people. If we don't, I won't collect random strangers along the
Cool.
way this time.
So
Okay.
I'm
This
going
time.
to officially, as
We're on notice,
Christiana,
y'all.
allow all of you to decide this in character. I'm going to stop involving myself. I will respond as the world to whatever plan Carolina executes here. If the rest of you in character think Carolina has a bad plan, then it's up to you to tell her. Otherwise, we're moving
Yeah.
forward.
That's fair.
All
So
right.
yeah, Trina looks at Nedry and says, "Shall we go to the bar first?"
I think we should go to the bar first.
Yes.
I mean, they probably don't have any milk anymore, but I suppose we could help.
Well, we should go and help and see what's needed. You know,
There might be clues.
there might be clues. There might be paperwork that needs to get read and gone through and find
What are we
all
waiting
the
for,
intricate
then?
details.
I closed the book on the metal piece that Sequential has given to me, bind it up, put it in its little holster, grab a couple of handfuls of sausages. Well, let's go then. And he's halfway down the stairs, which is only
Eventual finish off adding some bits and bobs and screwing the handle back on the great axe and gonna grab the box under one arm and hand it over. All right. If we get into trouble, let me know how this works.
Oh, thanks. I can't wait. She just kind of checks the weight of it. Cool.
I'm gonna
Pretty much the same, other than like a wire has been super tightly coiled around the handle where your hands. It feels, maybe a little more grippy than before, but otherwise not really any different.
Cool.
Mechanically, it's a +1 magical great axe.
Ooh,
Nice.
thanks,
Nice.
man. I mean, thanks.
+1 to damage and attack. Or, yeah, attack and
Plus
damage.
one. Nice. Damage and attack? Fancy.
Yep.
Thank you, Sequential.
Nice. So I think Sorashana is still asleep. I think that, so what you decide to do about that, if you're wanting to wake her before you leave, is up to you. She is still asleep. I think Yobert gives you each basically a slip of paper with a seal on it that says that you are entitled to a line of credit that's payable by like one of the city's banks. That you can get what you need to get essentially, and that I think maybe each of you is given like 10 gold cash, just to like petty cash, so to speak.
Does
from
he want
halfway down the
receipts?
stairs.
He says, I'm not going to insist, but it does make things easier.
Okay. I'm gonna take out my handkerchief, wrap up some food to, just in case somebody needs it, and then head
body.
off after Nedry.
Don't forget the body. We need it.
Sure, you wrap that in a different box.
Yes.
Still in my cloak.
What? It's
Oh yeah, I
still
need
in
to
your-
get a
where-
cloak while we're out.
Was I carrying the body?
Yes,
I think
you
I was
wrapped it
carrying-
in my cloak
Yes.
and took it.
Okay, I'm gonna take the body too.
All right. So, I think Yobert does kind of say, like, as far as receipts go, the businessman and politician and noble in me understands their utility, but the former adventurer in me knows that sometimes you need to pay off a guard, and he's not going to give you a receipt. So, I understand if that happens. All right, so you head out. I think. Do you wake Sorashana, or you just kind of let her rest? I think you. I don't.
Yeah, I
recall.
think we.
Yeah.
I'm-
All right.
yeah.
We
I don't
should
see
leave
any
her a
reason.
note.
Gonna take the pocket
Yeah.
bucket?
No, I think that.
No?
Tell her.
No, I wouldn't take it. I'd just let her sleep and leave.
Maybe next time.
I leave her a note telling her that some of us are going to go to the library. We're probably going to go to the bar first. I'm going to go to the temple. And if she would like to join us, some of us will be at each of these places, but we're probably going to go to the bar first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that sequential, you know that from the perspective of those other devices that you identified, that she seemed really excited to understand how those work out in like experimental practical use.
Yeah,
So,
get some real world data.
Yeah, so there were the things that are kind of like hers, like the mask and the backpack and the pocket. But the other things, you are confident that she would not mind you taking any of those that you wanted.
Cool.
Assuming that the goal would be that you would use them and report back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me. So, I have some stuff for those. But that I can give you. But if you want to just each write down like what you have, then we can sort of sort out exactly how they work when they come up. Do you want me to reread the things?
Yeah,
you've
I
got?
did not take any.
Sure.
I took a note that where it is in the recording
Yeah.
to write down what the items were.
So
Mark took notes.
Yeah. So the things there are is the pouch of automaton seeds that you suspect is probably not super useful in a combat situation because it takes time.
Might
to
be
do.
helpful for digging out a bar.
There's the thought. So each one takes an hour to grow once you plant it, but then it runs for 8 hours. There's the bread sprayer. There's the peace grenade. So it's a detonation of
I want that
peace. You want that one?
I want that one.
Okay, so just you guys keep track of what it is, and so basically I'll tell you what happens when and if you use it. So the thing is, I have these defined as magic items, so I know how they work, but part of what I want for these is that they're a little quirky compared to regular magic items, and they don't necessarily work exactly like you expect.
Cool.
So there's also the detonation of soap.
What was that one?
That one, it's like a grenade that is designed to explode into like slippery soap suds.
Nice. Like a foam party.
Yeah.
Oh man, throw that at a room full of orphans.
So there's the endless like stomach, like, you know, the container that you can where you eat things.
Oh yeah.
That one requires someone to attune to it. Like you have to like have it in your mouth and attune to it. But like when you have it attuned, like you can decide what is going into that and what you're just eating normally, right? Like it doesn't prevent you from being able to eat normal things.
I still think Nedry needs that.
I don't know. I think we ought to go by who has the biggest mouth. Then we can put bigger stuff in it. I mean, I'm just going to be practical here. As far as logistics.
Who said I wasn't?
So there is also the endless rope, it's an endless coil of rope. There's the wasp drone. And then one that I think I omitted last time, I didn't mean to leave it out, but I think I did, was there's something that looks like a climbing piton, but it has a little button on it that looks like it's designed to be able to, like it partially phases when you press the button, so you can insert it into something and then have it return to like physical. So like then you'll have like a climbing piton inserted into whatever you want
Oh,
instead of
nice.
having to hammer it in.
Nice.
And then it can be removed. It will leave the hole though when you remove it. Like so once it's in there, it will leave the hole. So it's not, it doesn't come out and then it's nothing, no evidence. It's just you can get it into whatever you want.
That's cool. So there's 8 items.
I mean, I guess I didn't. So
Yep.
however many that is.
Yeah,
Eight.
that's what you've got, Mark.
Yep.
All right.
That's cool. That's a fun list, Christiana.
Sure.
Out of character.
All right. So is anyone taking some of those? It sounded like.
I want the peace grenade.
All right.
That's the one that reduces like all the hostility, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like
Like calm
emotions a little
emotions.
bit.
Yeah, kind of. Like what it's supposed to do is basically relax hostile feelings.
Perfect.
I would like the wasp drone.
All right.
So I think I want the climbing piton thing.
Okay.
And she says, "Don't give me that bread sprayer." Huh, and she rubs her belly. Don't.
The bread sprayer, like the rope, seems to be like effectively infinite, with the caveat that probably eventually it runs out, but
Yeah.
you can't really know exactly when that would happen.
I wonder if he also made a butter sprayer.
Ooh, dangerous.
Well, yeah, I think researching this one, we could probably create something similar.
So I wouldn't mind
Perhaps a
having
peanut butter and jelly.
Ooh. So sequential, Zinhorn.
Yeah, I think I thought the stomach container made the most sense for sequential since they don't actually eat. And
Does he have
pretty big mouth.
Does he have a big mouth? I guess, like, I
yeah,
believe it.
because it's a removable jaw, so yeah, I
Okay,
think
yeah,
it'll.
sure.
Ooh. Yeah, Trina
yeah.
doesn't have a removable jaw.
Actually, I don't know that it's removable. I think just kind of said that, but it is a different alloy.
Sure.
Well, Trina's going to get very, very literal, and she's just going to open her mouth as wide as she can to compare who has the biggest mouths. So
I think I could.
You-
Lena is watching
Yeah.
and comparing.
Zinhorn will get in on that.
All right. Yeah. Dragonborn has big mouth.
Dragonborn's got big jaws.
Yeah. So
I do
I
have the
say-
trunk obstacle to deal with too, so I think I can lift it up and clear like the area around my mouth.
If you were wearing this, Trina, and we collected a whole bunch of weird things, would it be junk under your trunk?
Trina theoretically has the advantage too of, like, if her hands are full, the trunk could be used to put something in her mouth.
Ooh, yeah, actually.
Now that's
yeah.
that is true.
Win,
yeah.
win, win. You need this. Yeah.
I really wanted it. Thanks.
All right. So I think that you find that. So you let me know how much you want to role play this, but I think that as intended, this item, until you get used to it, which would probably take a few days, you're going to talk a little bit funny, like you got a
Delightful.
retainer in your mouth.
I can't wait.
So role play that however much feels comfortable to you.
I'm just imagining Tim Conway and the whole elephant joke. Snork it.
Snort.
All right, so we've still got the soap grenade, the endless rope.
Yeah, I mean, any of these I would be happy to carry along because they could all be
Yeah.
Never
useful.
know. Just take the whole lot.
Yeah, take all of them.
Yeah, I'll grab the coil of rope
All right.
and attach it to my pack.
Oh, I wrote endless soap, not endless rope.
Oh, yeah. So I'll.
That's a different thing.
No, soap grenade.
That's right.
All right, so I've got that. Sequential has the pouch of seeds, the bread sprayer, the soap grenade, and the rope. Carolina has the peace grenade. Trina has the endless stomach and the phasing piton. And Zinhorn has the wasp drone. Correct. Mm-hmm. All right. So I think as you all make your way out of the castle, certainly tier 3, where the castle is a lot more active during the day. Like there's not a lot of people right over there by the castle necessarily, because it's just kind of stacked cargo containers are the neighbors, right? But I think there is a guy sitting on the edge of one of those with his lunchbox that he's just eating a sandwich, but as you're coming out, he's just watching you casually eating his sandwich.
I'll wave. Hi.
He waves back. So, would you, now that you've got some petty cash, would you pay to take one of the lifts down, back down to the ground, or would you go back over to the stairs?
Going down is much easier than coming up, so I'd be okay with walking.
How much does it cost?
I think it would probably be something like 2 silver per person.
Eh.
That's a long way. I'm going to take the lift.
New experiences.
Sure.
Oh, I took the lift once before.
Yeah. So I think in this case, like the most convenient one, like it's a big platform that's designed to let like a whole wagon or a construct or that sort of thing like could go on there, but you just sort of you pay the operator and it's all magically powered, but you've got a very stable position as it lowers you down the let's see, I think tier 3 is probably like it's about 100 yards above the ground, so it's it's like higher than that. I need to work out the actual details there, but it's a ways down, but so you get a nice view as you're making your way down, but certainly it's
Pay him
faster.
4 silver.
For Nedry and
Priya.
all right. He's not gonna argue if you. Is everyone else taking the lift too, or
I'll take the lift.
All right.
I'll take the lift. Time is valuable.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not
so-
going to
stay
go off
together.
on my own. I want to stay with my friends.
well, I think that like the guy's instinct is to give you your 2 silver back, Nedry, because like the extra, because he's like, what are you doing?
For my invisible friend.
All right then. And I think some of the rest of you get the impression that that's 2 silver going into that guy's pocket, and the rest of you are riding down, and you know the way back over to where the Cunning Oaf is, and it's like everything's very different this morning because it's sunny. It's kind of clear and cool, as a lot of the streets are still a little, there's puddles here and there from last night's rain, but now it's daytime, so people are out doing work, and people are on the streets going wherever they're going, and you're on your way. Are you stopping randos on the street?
No. But I do think like Carolina would continue. She'd be humming every now and then. It's always the bits of the same thing, and then finally she would after this like carries on for a while, she's like, Nedry, this is your fault. It's stuck in my head, so You mentioned earlier about the taking a guess with the P.
It was something my mother told me when I was young. When I finally had a chance to actually find one in the street, I decided, well, I might as well try it, but I didn't exactly understand what the lesson was supposed to be.
Well, I know what the lesson is.
Really?
I do. While it's true that we can't all be winners, it is far too much fun not to play. Because no one can resist the shell game. Everyone answers its call. From kobolds to kings to villains and things, there are suckers among them all.
Yay!
I'm not
Wonderful.
sure I understand. Does that mean the only way to win is not to play? Because you're a sucker if you try?
But it's
Yes.
far too much fun, and if you don't play, then you miss out on the fun.
Huh.
There's a whole
You're paying
there's a
for
lot
the
there's a lot
fun.
more story that goes with
Don't
it,
expect to win.
but
Yeah.
just enjoy the ride.
It was pretty fun. It was very expensive.
All right. So, as you are making your way back over there, as you get to the place where you know, like as you expect, there's going to be there's an area where it's kind of like for about a block around where the cutting oaf is, there is just junk all over the street everywhere. But as Yobera had described, there is rope that has been sort of put on various like stands, kind of going around that area with signs, you know, every 20 feet or so that say, "Do not enter. Location not safe. If you live or work in the impacted area, please contact the district magistrate." And there's an address there. But that said, you see several people like in there who are like poking through the junk and looking like they're scavenging stuff.
Do we see Emerald anywhere?
Yeah, I think that if you kind of look over near the front of your the actual tavern where stuff's kind of piling out of the front door, you see him struggling with some big heavy metal thing that's kind of in the doorway.
All right. Let's see. Well, do we want to go help him?
Doesn't look like they're
Definitely.
cutting very far.
Yeah, let's go help him.
Yep.
Let's go investigate.
So as you approach, he turns and just says, "Oh, great! You're here. I kind of had the impression that you were blowing me off."
No, I was actually busy. But, well, I brought my friends.
So
Hello.
your friends from last night, so
This place looks ruined.
yeah, sure does, doesn't it? Now, fortunately, like, I mean, just like you said last night, I mean, I did get notified that, I was gonna be taken care of, but I mean, I have some stuff in there that I'd kind of like to, keep, and not just have it be like a total loss. I mean, like, even if we need to rebuild somewhere else, I mean, I have some like just personal possessions in there, and right now it's like he gestures to the like doorway full of junk.
Well, I'm not sure how far we can get with just us.
Oh, okay.
So, so here's the thing. I don't want to leave you high and dry, but I have sort of been offered a job that is kind of everything I've ever wanted.
Wow, really? Like-
Yeah.
I mean, good for you. Like I mean, I kind of hate to lose you, but it's not like I have nightly shifts to offer you right now.
Yeah. I mean, I know I have every faith that you'll, either find a new place or be able to rebuild here. And I
Well,
would love to see it if you do.
like Carolina, you're good at what you do, but it's so obvious that you're capable of more than what you've been doing here. Now, that's not to say I didn't love having you. But, like, you gotta take what comes your way in this world. Like, to be honest, the amount of money they're talking about paying me for this thing, like, I'm gonna make this place nicer than it was before. Now, I was worried back when it seemed like, oh my God, I've lost everything. But now that it seems like I've not lost everything, it's more like, hey, you wanted to remodel. Well, now you have to. But you can. Honestly, like, if you want to stop by sometimes and give some, like, input on what the new place should look like, I mean, I'm open to your input. You always had good insights on, like what sort of stuff to put on the walls, and I don't know. You just like you have an eye for that sort of thing.
Well, you said such very nice things about me, and I really do. I'm going to miss you very much. You can be kind of grumpy sometimes, but I'm glad this is going to work out for you.
Well, it's just one of those things. Like, I wasn't looking. Like, if you'd asked me this time yesterday what I saw my next couple of years looking like, I wouldn't have predicted this. It's not exactly what I would have even chosen necessarily. But nothing's certain in this world, Carolina. You gotta strike while the iron's hot when there's opportunities. Like, I mean, like when I got this place, it was a spur of the moment thing. Like, I knew I wanted to open a tavern, but I didn't think I was ready. But then, like, I got a good deal on this place, and I knew it was a neighborhood that was going to be able to support the business, and I jumped on it, and I didn't regret it.
Well, you have a very, very good head for business. I have always admired that about you. But that does lead me to some questions
Oh,
about when you bought this place. Who did you buy it from? How long ago was that?
well, so I got this place 12 years ago. And before I got it, it had been just used for storage. Like, some of the wholesalers around here just used it as kind of a storage co-op warehouse type of thing. Like, it was some, like some conglomerate of that kept its name off the paperwork, like owned it, but like everyone just stored stuff in here. Like, I had no idea that trapdoor was there. Like, I mean, I knew it was like a painted over thing, but like a lot of these buildings have, weird sorts of doors to nowhere, or additions or renovations that were added at various times. I mean, I thought it was just like something like that. It was a remnant of like the old construction or something like that. But I didn't even think anything of it because it wasn't something that was open when I got it. But my understanding was that it had just been used for storage for a long time before that. But the whole building had kind of been part of this whole big, like I got it. It was almost like a fire sale, except there was no fire, right? Like, all of a sudden, everyone who had their stuff stored in there just all at once decided that they weren't going to store their stuff there anymore. And so they had to make some other use of the space. Now, obviously, like, I say all at once like it's a coincidence. It's obviously not a coincidence, but I don't know what the answer was. I just knew that I got a deal, and that's like why I was a little bit worried. Is like I'm thinking, what do they know that I don't know? But I decided to overlook that, and it worked out great for 12 years until, last night happened. So I don't know if they knew that was going to happen or what, but my understanding is that it had just been a big storeroom for 40 years before that.
And who did you buy it from? You said a conglomerate that wanted to keep their name off the paperwork?
Yeah.
But you in order to own it, you had to pay money to someone and have a deed drawn up.
Oh, yeah. No, totally. So what I'm saying, see, some of this, like, I can't prove any of this. This is all just, like, impression that I had, right? Because the people who signed stuff that sold it to me was this co-op organization of all the wholesalers, right? Like, that's who, like, they had some, like, formal thing that was, like, it wasn't someone who worked for any of the individual sellers, but, like, it was, you know how, like, there are people in the city whose job is to do the parts of other people's jobs that they don't want to do, right? So you get a wholesaler, they want to focus on wholesaling. They don't want to deal with real estate, right? So they have a guy who does their real estate stuff, right? And so I had the impression that this guy that sold it to me, like, he worked for this co-op of sellers, right? But the thing was, I had the impression from him, just my own intuition, that even though he's working for those wholesalers, that he had some sort of like maybe it was him that told them they should all pull out all of a sudden or something. So I don't know what his deal was exactly.
Do you remember his name?
I could get it for you. I mean, like, this was 12 years ago. Like, he was a bureaucrat, right? I mean, I have it. Like, that's part of what I want to get out of the bar is, like, all that paperwork and stuff. I mean, that's part of what's going to help me, get the payout, right? Is I got to prove that I actually own the place and stuff.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I could get that for you if we get that paperwork. Not to put a price on my helping you out here, but why do you care about all this anyway? I mean, are you just curious about, like, why your workplace exploded last night or what?
Well, a lot of it's that, yeah. But we found something in this little pocket of space that, I mean, it was filled with all of this stuff, and it's a very long story. But yeah, we found some things down there that were kind of. It was like a little bit like discovering the beginning of an adventure. It's like what you always hear about in the stories. It was just. So we decided we're gonna follow it and see where it goes.
Huh. Carolina, that's not what I do. But I admire the people who do. And frankly, it seems like something that's up your alley. So if I can help, let me know. Keep in touch. I want to hear about all this stuff you're getting up to. But holy crap, I'm looking forward to just running a bar again.
I will be sure to tell you all about it. But yes, so any information that we could get would be super helpful.
Sure. So kind of gestures to the stuff and looks around at the rest of you like, huh?
Oh, Nedry at this point has been crawling all over looking for anything that looks interesting.
Okay. Make an investigation check.
Oh God, dice.
Sequential's
Yeah.
been mending random objects
Okay.
that are probably useless, like
Yeah.
fixing a chair leg and setting it aside and using the mending cantrip.
I think that, especially given that you all encountered, like, the gazers and the disassembler in the disposal, like, you have the impression that there's a lot of that stuff that has literally just been rendered down to components, right? So, like, You know, there's going to be a lot of things where, like, here's a gear with a missing tooth, and maybe you can fix that gear, but it's still just a gear, right? As opposed to devices. But there are, here and there, things that look like they might be complete or semi-complete things. So what was your investigation check, Nedry? You
8.
can make one too, sequential. Yeah, Nedry, I think you're not finding anything of interest yet. You're discovering that there's a lot of stuff that's not interesting.
He holds up something. It looks like a rat. I toss it away. I think it was.
I'm gonna help clear some debris,
Okay.
and keep my eye open for anything interesting. Trying to
22.
get toward the paperwork.
Nice. So I think with a 22, in your examinations, where is that? There we go. In your examinations of some of the junk that in the proximity, and then maybe as you're helping to start clear some of the stuff out of the doorway of the bar, kind of trying to clear a path. Are you all helping with that in general?
Absolutely.
And so sequential, as you are kind of looking for more stuff, I think you spot another thing that has the same basic profile as the sort of grenade devices that you've, and so this one looks like it probably does something different than the ones you've had, but it's clearly, like, just in its shape and sort of profile, it seems very clear that it is another similar device. And it seems
sorry.
reasonably intact.
Pocket.
All right. I think I need to make that one, but yeah. So, as you are, you're working to, I think between all of you, with all of you helping, like it takes some time, right? But it's not ridiculously hard work. Like, there's not a lot of, like, really huge pieces. It's more like stuff that would be hard for one person to do, moderately difficult for two, but with three or more, it's fine, right? Like, it's just doing it. Kind of like, moving furniture, right? And so you're making some progress there. And in particular, I think Emerald indicates that, like, he's not expecting you to help him clear out the whole interior. He's mostly trying to get back to his office to where he can get paperwork and some of his other stuff. And so you're making good progress.
Well, if we think it would go faster, I could go find us some friends.
I think that so I think that given your current objective, more people will really just get in the way. But
Next time.
but then again, he's really only asking right now to be clearing a path. So if you wanted to hire people to help him do the rest of it, anyway, so you're all working though, and at a certain point though, everyone, let's see, well, what's everyone's passive perception? I could look it up, but I don't have it handy.
And
12.
+4 for me.
So
13.
okay,
Uh,
so passive perception would be 14 then.
11.
14. Yep.
Yeah. So 10 plus your perception modifier. So Zinhorn, I think it makes sense that it would be you to hear this too, because in a lot of ways your sort of background and profession have trained you to hear certain kinds of noises and prioritize them over others. Because what you're hearing here sounds like a child, like, screaming in, like, fear.
Okay. I'm going to go investigate it.
Yeah, I would guess so. Yeah. And when I say screaming, I don't mean to imply, like, ongoing, it's not like, but it sounds like a child is, like, as you go to look, you see a turtle child, who looks, maybe 10, wearing a coat that does not fit very well. It's a reasonably new looking coat, but the problem is here that he's got the shell, right? So this coat, in order to fit over the shell, is enormous. But that means that it is incredibly huge on him in every other place. And and you can also see that, like, underneath it, his clothes look far more ragged than the coat does. But he is running out of a nearby alley, like he's being pursued by a ghost or something similarly scary.
I'm going to take off after him.
Is everybody else kind of doing that too? I think when Zinhorn
Yeah.
perks up, probably you all
We
notice.
notice he's alerted to something. I'd follow him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if he goes running off, definitely.
So I think it's not hard to catch up with him because he was running away from something, but he kind of gets around a corner or two and he kind of stops a little bit and he's like looking back as though he's expecting to be pursued. But so when you show up, he does not seem afraid of you, but he's definitely like breathing hard, eyes wide, just like. Are you saying?
I'm going to crouch down next to him and ask him what's got him so spooked.
There's a thing over there. So I was just picking through the stuff, and some guy came up behind me, and he wanted to try to take the cool little gizmo I found, but then something like attacked him. Like it was. I don't know. It was scary. I don't know what it was.
All right, calm down. Calm down. Take a deep breath. Can you show us where it was? You don't have to go there. Just take us to where we can see and
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Okay. And with
We'll
all of
protect
you
you.
standing around, are you're looking tough and like attentive? Like he's like, oh, okay, yeah. Like,
Yeah,
This is
And,
better.
you're safe.
I'm also gonna ask him if he's hungry.
I mean, yeah. You got food?
I take out my handkerchief and show him the contents, and then wrap it up and hand all of it to him.
Oh, he takes it gratefully and says, "Thanks, Mister."
You're welcome. My name is Zinhorn.
Tuga. So, yeah, I mean, it was over there. Like, so I found this thing. It looked almost kind of like a shield, but like a lot of this junk looks like old and like rusty and stuff like that. But like the shield had this like it was like a paint splotch, but it was just like this bright blue. It was really cool looking. But then, like, when the guy like tried to start grabbing it away from me, like the blue attacked him. Like I don't understand exactly what it was, but it was getting him. Like it was. And he's looking.
Did
He's
you
kind of.
drop the shield, or you still have it?
No. I dropped it. I just ran.
Okay. And, what about the coat? Did you find the coat in all this stuff?
No, this is my coat.
Well, it doesn't seem to fit you very well.
Well, I'm growing.
Yeah, well, it might fit one of my friends better, and I thought maybe I could buy it from you.
I don't know. I don't know. He's starting to look a little bit more skittish.
I'm going to pull out a gold piece.
Make a persuasion check.
Where's my persuasion? Stupid browser. +3. 13.
I think he looks at the coin, and I think, you know, your instincts seem to be borne out just in terms of he's looking at that coin like that looks like a lot of money. But he also like wants this coat, and he's a little bit suspicious. Like
Well-
he's kind of clutching the coat to him.
Well,
And-
that would be enough to pay to get it altered in the sleeve so that it would fit you better.
Yeah. Well, but I'm buying the coat from Carolina.
That's right.
It would be more than enough money for you to get a new set of clothes of your own that fit properly. And I'm worried that you found the coat here, and that what happened with the shield might also happen with the coat.
Well, I didn't. I mean, a gold piece for the coat.
A gold piece for the coat to keep you safe.
I mean, I didn't find the coat here.
Where did you find the coat?
My parents bought it for me.
They did.
Yeah.
When was that?
Last week.
Rhino wants to do an insight check
Sure.
on the kid.
Yeah.
Andrew's just going to say, your
I
parents
rolled a
don't know how to
1.
fit you.
What?
I rolled a 1.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've got a +3, but
Well, yeah. So I think at this point you're maybe you're kind of thinking it's like, why are we asking this kid so many questions? It seems straightforward.
why are you questioning the kid? What the heck? Tried.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, he. So did you do an insight check as well, Sinhorn, or?
Let me do one. Hold on. +4. That would be a 10.
So I think even with a 10, like, he is lying for sure about where he got the coat, but not necessarily about that he didn't get it here. But I think you also can tell that, like, more and more questions is making him more and more likely to just run away.
Okay. Well, the gold piece offer stands. We're going to be here for a little while. And you can always find me over at Rushama's orphanage if you want to make the trade. I'm not going to force you to do anything.
He's looking at the gold piece and he's like, yeah, okay. And you see him start going into like the pockets of the coat, and he's like taking out various little bits and bobs, like the stuff a 10-year-old would have in his pockets, right? Yeah, so he takes stuff out of the pockets, and then he takes the coat off, and you can definitely see like the clothes he's got underneath don't look as new as the coat does. But he hands it over.
Okay.
And-
I give him the gold piece and say, if you are ever cold, if you're ever hungry, you will be more than welcome to join us at the orphanage.
Thanks for the food and the money, mister. I thanks. But he's kind of already sort of like dancing away to like make sure you're not going to grab him or something. He's
Yep.
a little skittish, but yeah, he kind of,
I'm going to write down the details of the encounter and in my little book so that I can come back and start making some progress with him.
yeah.
Nidri's already walked away.
So I think when the kid goes away, like you can look at the coat. The coat's like nice and obviously like designed for someone like with a big frame, but it seems mundane though. Doesn't seem to have
Okay.
anything unusual
I'll take it.
about it.
I'm missing a cloak.
I think Carolina is swimming in it too. Like it's very big
It's
on
fine.
you. Like, all right,
Actually, when she puts it on, it doesn't. It seems to fit nicer than you would think it would.
So are the rest of you kind of going to inspect where he indicated he was running away from?
Yeah.
All right. So as you go and you check that alley, you at first don't see the guy, and then you realize that the reason you didn't see him right away is because there is an unconscious humanoid form there lying on the ground. And I say unconscious because he's lying down and not moving. But what's weird about it is that he seems like the entirety of him, including clothes and everything, is just jet black, like no color at all, like skin, hair, clothes, everything on him. And so, like, in the shadow, it made him kind of hard to see at first. And then up on the wall above him, where he's sort of leaning, is this thing that looks like just sort of a round paint splotch that's just this sort of vibrant turquoise that kind of is pretty relatively bright color for being in the shadows.
I think we need to tread cautiously here. He doesn't seem to be moving.
Idri takes out his book and holds it out. Fria, can you hold this? Kind of flips it open. The metal rod that Sequential gave him falls out. He picks it up. Embarrassed.
Sequential, do you have any idea as to what that might be?
I've never seen anything like it.
Is it moving at all? Is it just...
It doesn't seem to be moving at all right now.
I'm
you
going
see
to
a
go
shield?
try and get that guy out of where he is and
Okay.
see if he's still alive. I'm
yeah.
going to be moving real slow. You guys got my back, right?
Trina has her great axe in her hands. She's ready.
Just in case.
Going with you, friend.
Yeah, and Sequential would walk up to the wall to, how high up was the paint stuff?
It was only like a couple of feet off the ground. It was like relatively, like the guy was laying on the ground near the wall, and it was sort of like on the wall just above him.
Gotcha.
So as you approach the guy, you do see a shield laying down like where he would have dropped it if he were holding it when he collapsed. But it doesn't, at least, like, you see like the front of the shield face up, and there doesn't seem to be any color on it.
Okay.
And this guy, like, as you get closer, you realize, like, this guy is dead. He's not breathing. And something has made him look like this.
I'd like to cast Detect Magic.
As you cast Detect Magic, you recognize immediately that this splotch of color on the wall, it is not a magical effect, like it's not something from like a spell, but it is, there's definitely magic associated with it. It sort of radiates magical energy, but not like an item, more like a creature.
Oh, you think it looks pretty when you normally look at it. It's beautiful. It's got kind of little sparkles of different things around it. It's not exactly one of the schools that I'm familiar with. It's like life.
So, Sequential, you were investigating it too?
Yeah.
You want to make an Arcana check for me?
Yeah. Arcana +5. Oh, great. 10.
Okay. Well, I think what you can see about it, just looking at it, is that although certainly your first instinct was that it would be like a splotch of paint, but as you look a little closer at it, like it really seems like this is not paint on the wall. It has literally somehow just like that part of the wall just is that color now. You know what I mean? Like you would normally, if someone splashed paint on the wall, you would be able to like see at the edges where like the paint had been applied to the surface. But in this case, it really just looks like something has made that part of the wall this color now.
I would like to. I'm approximately 30 feet away, and I'm going to cast Mage Hand to touch it.
Okay.
To see what that does.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, if I see a mage hand coming, I'll step away.
All right. Yeah. So
I might want to back up.
you reach out with the mage hand, and when the mage hand like what, just like pokes it with a finger or what?
Yeah, just like not even like hard, just a little touch, just to see if it moves or reacts in any way.
So it sort of wobbles a little bit, almost a little bit like Jello. Just where you prod it, like not the larger area, but just like the texture you feel sort of like the mage hand. Like I don't think with the mage hand you actually have much sort of tactile sense of it, but what you see is the finger of the mage hand so like squish into it just a little bit. And then all of a sudden you see like smoke around the borders of it, and you realize somehow like the wall where it is that color is just like disintegrating away, and it's like eating into the wall.
Oh, that's not good.
Cool.
And as you watch, it's only the space of like 5 or 6 seconds when it has eaten entirely through this brick wall. And as you see the wall sort of crumble, and you see like now there's you see through to the other side, which is the interior of like a shop of some kind. And all of a sudden there's this little sort of floating mote of light that looks that same color that sort of drifts out of sight.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy. I'm gonna pick up the shield.
Yeah.
All right. So it seems to be a relatively ordinary shield. There's no indication of anything unusual about it on either side.
I'm gonna show it to Sequential. Like it started here on the shield. Was it just here temporarily? Because it didn't eat the shield. Maybe
Yeah, it
this thing
doesn't
can
seem
hold
to
it?
be.
Is detect magic?
I guess
still
maybe it
active,
just
maybe?
chose not to.
Yeah, detect magic lasts for 10 minutes. So
Yeah, I don't think you see anything else magic here in the alley.
okay. I'm gonna
My
look in
guess
the
is
hole.
it just chose not to eat the shield.
Can I still see it?
No, so basically, once it ate through the wall, it seemed to turn into like a little floating mote of light, and then it drifted so it's somewhere inside the building now, but it drifted out
Okay.
of sight where you can't see it from through the hole.
I'm running around to the front of the building.
Okay. So as you are making your way around to the front of the building, you see that this is the sign on it says that it's clearly not like a like end seller customer facing sort of business, right? There's not a lot of like big display windows or anything like that. But what the sign says is Hunjar's Wholesale Porcelain and Flatware Sellers. And so do you go inside?
If the door's open, absolutely.
Yeah. So what you see in there is that there are a lot of like shelves of different kinds of crates and everything, but then there's also some up front, some like displays of like tables that have been set out with different kinds of like china and dishware and all of that sort of thing. And so, but it does seem to be occupied, and so as you come in, a little bell rings, and you hear sort of a snort, and then coming from around one of the shelves is a minotaur wearing a tie, and he just says, "So, how can I help you?"
In case I didn't mention it, the book would be floating along beside me as silly as I keep Freya near me. I'm kind of ignoring him and kind of walking around looking up to see if I can see the thing.
Okay. I think make a perception check.
4.
I don't think you see it.
Did you see a little light around here somewhere? It kind of came through the wall. There's a hole in your wall now.
What?
Over there.
What is everyone else doing?
Following Nedrian, and I'm going to act as customer service facing nice guy while these guys look around. There's a thing. It's like a blue floaty thing, and it just ate a hole through your wall after it killed some guy.
So I think that the progression of his facial expressions starts with, "Oh, a customer. Oh, not a customer. A hole in my wall. Killed some guy?" And so he is alarmed now, but starts looking around sort of in a panic.
We're looking for a glowy blue thing. This just happened. We just saw it, and we wanted to come in and make sure there was no one in here who could possibly wind up dead.
Well, I'm in here.
Yes. You might want to stay out of the way for a few minutes, and we'll see if we can take care of this for you.
So at this point, I would like to step in because this is my wheelhouse. I'm really good at this.
Okay.
And so I will just kind of like step up to him and say, maybe it would be better if you stepped outside for a moment. If you like, I can take you around back and show you where this occurred, if that would make you feel better, so that you know everything is on. We're not making this up. My friends are very tough, and they've seen some stuff. But
so, he didn't necessarily seem like he didn't believe the story, right? It was more like he's alarmed that there's a weird thing that killed somebody, and it's in his shop now, right? So go ahead and make a persuasion check, though, to calm him and escort him out.
Ooh, that was a natural 20 plus 6. So
Ooh. We're all convinced.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna fall. No.
Yeah, well, no, I think that, he's looking around like, oh, and he seems kind of scared, but then you're saying this like, maybe that's a good idea. Like, I mean, I'm, if you guys could, get rid of it, that'd be great. I'll just wait outside. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And so
it's for the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he definitely makes his way outside. And so I think that's actually probably a good point to finish our session for tonight. And next time we'll begin the hunt for the little blue dot.
Snipe hunt.
Aw.
All right. Thank you. That was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and thank you everyone for listening and/or watching. If you're watching us live, then if you have questions for the characters to answer in character, feel free to type those on in. And those of you who are watching this on YouTube or listening to the podcast version know that if you watch us live on Twitch at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, then you too could have the opportunity to ask our characters a question. But we love you no matter how you encounter the show. So who has something that they want to plug while we wait to see if there's any questions? Anyone?
I have nothing to plug.
Oh,
Not at the
Well,
moment, but in a few
I
weeks I
mean-
will. But
Masks. I would like to
You-
plug masks.
Oh yes.
wear them.
Wear
Live
wear the
them.
damn
Yes.
mask.
All the cool
Because-
kids are.
Our old people are precious, and we're losing too many of them.
Mm-hmm.
And once they're gone, and you can't get them back. So wear a mask and help save some lives.
Absolutely.
Got a question.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to have something really not serious now.
I know.
I was going to say, I plugged that recent episode of Pseudopod, the horror fiction podcast. I did the reading for it. So,
Ooh,
Yay.
cool.
yeah. So the episode for Devil Gonna Catch You in the Corners is me doing a New England accent.
Oh, nice.
Hey.
Requested. Like they asked me if I could do that. So I did. And
Nice.
you can all listen to it and judge how well I pulled it off. But
Fantastic.
Awesome.
But we do have a question. Smarter Master asks, Carolina, what hero of legend do you want to meet the most?
Pet of the Sands for sure.
Probably has a poster on our wall somewhere. Or David Lynch on the wall.
He just knows so many songs, and I heard his jokes were just legendary.
They weren't bad.
I don't know very many jokes. Songs, yes, and stories, yes, but not so many jokes. So I think that would be really, really interesting. But they're all so cool. How can you pick?
All right. So I think that'll do it then for this episode. So we'll be back next week for more adventure. Oh, excuse me. On so many
So
levels.
many levels.
Yeah.
Wear your mask.
Yes.